how I had it set up and recorded for my band's new album. My band's called Palaver. The album's called Recollection Trip. It's our 4th album, released on my semi-legitimate record label, Baryonic Records. The kit itself is a Pearl Export Joey Jordison signature kit, the limited edition one they made, like, I think early 2000s maybe. It came with the 2 kick drums, 3 rack and 2 floor toms, and currently I'm only using 1 kick drum just because it's more convenient, and 2 rack toms. I'm using the 10-inch and the 13-inch, but there's also a 12-inch, and then the 14 and 16-inch floor toms. A pork pie, big black brass snare drum, kind of a Ludwig Black Beauty type snare. Sounds pretty good, I think. Mostly Zildjian cymbals and some Alesis drum pads. So I'll grab the camera and kind of go into a bit more depth with everything. Okay, so here's the snare drum, the pork pie snare. It's 14 by 6.5 with a Emperor X head from Remo, and the toms 10, 13, 14, 16 all have the Evans EC2S clear heads with just some moon gel on them to kind of dampen them a bit. Same with the snare. The kick drum, hard to see down there, but that's an Evans EMAD head with a small pillow inside, and using the pedals there, those are Pearl Demon direct drive pedals. Really great for playing super fast, but I don't do that much on this album. I keep the springs really tight. For the microphones here, SM57 on the snare. I used one on the bottom of the snare too, but that's not set up right now. The mounted toms, both SM57s. Floor toms, Audix D6, a pair of those. Those are borrowed. The overheads are a pair of Shure SM81s with the kind of mid setting with the high pass filter. The kick drum mic, Shure Beta 52. The head is just an Evans Rezo head. I just replaced that just because it had the porthole in it, so I could mic kind of inside the kick drum. Originally it would have had the Slipknot logo there. I've still got those heads, but just not on the kit. On this album, I was also using a pair of Aventone CK1s, small diaphragm condensers. I had one over the hi-hat and then one underneath the ride cymbal, just to kind of reinforce those in the stereo image, if that makes sense. I don't turn them up too loud because they get really overbearing, but I used a 10 dB pad and the high pass filter on these. These are also borrowed. I also used some room mics. I set these up maybe 6 to 8 feet away from the kit. Just try to match the distance from the snare. These are MXL R144 ribbon microphones. So I'll use 2 of those in a stereo track, and then I'll add a lot of compression after they're recorded and blend that in with the drum sound to give it some more depth and, I guess, character, for lack of a proper term. Here are my cymbals. The hi-hats, you can't hardly see the logo on there. These are 14-inch A custom hats. Left crash is a Zildjian A custom 17-inch projection crash. The right crash is a Zildjian 18-inch A custom medium crash. The splash in the center here is a Wuhan S splash 12-inch. My ride is a Zildjian A Ping ride, a 22-inch. And then the china over here is an 18-inch Zildjian Oriental china. And of course we've got the cowbell. For this album I've added some electronic drums. So I've got 3 Alesis pads. These are all 8-inch pads. And they're just single zone, I guess you'd call it. Just the pad, the rim doesn't make a different sound, but they're fairly dynamic with the response to them. And then I've got just a cheap foot pedal down there, which triggers some sounds like a tambourine right there. This one set up to my left is a high bongo. And then on the right over here, we've got a high and a low conga. I'll change these out for different sounds and stuff, but those are kind of my go-to settings. And the module I'm using is an Alesis D4. And that is currently run out to just a small Mackie mixer into 2 PA speakers. Here's a little set list we're working on. Here are my go-to sticks. Vader 5B hickory sticks. I've tried plenty of other brands. Vic Firths, I would break those in half after a few minutes. Pro Marks would last a while, but the tips would just degrade and they'd get all soft and wouldn't give me any attack like on the ride or anything. But these last me longer than anything else I've found so far. So I'll keep using them. And I also use these occasionally. Zildjian cymbal mallets for some cymbal swells and little details like that. So this is the kit that I've been using. It changes a lot. I used to be using 3 rack toms, and I was only using 1 for the most part. I didn't bring in the second rack tom until later in recording this album. I was just going for a 1 up 2 down kind of Bonham thing, but not as cool because they're smaller. And yeah, sometimes I'll have 3 splashes or something, and 3 crashes and 2 chinas and aux hi-hats and stuff, but I've been simplifying it and then slowly complicating it, so by the time we do another album it'll probably look pretty different. I'll play through it a bit and play a few of my favorite drum parts from our new album. I'm not recording the mics for simplicity. I'm just using the audio directly from my phone, but it sounds good enough. It doesn't really distort too much. Plus it's about 6 feet away, so yeah. Here's the pads. Okay, here's just a few of my favorite drum beats from the album. drum set that I was using on my band's new album, Recollection Trip. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, YouTube, Bandcamp. Instagram is at Palaver Music. So go check us out. Thanks.